This is the most famous whisky island in the world. Visiting this place has become a must for Scotch lovers, with die-hard whisky fans travelling from across the globe to experience the magic of distilleries such as Bowmore, Laphroaig and Lagavulin. But how did this tiny wee island find itself as such an important place of pilgrimage for hundreds of thousands of people? Pour yourself a dram and settle in, because it's time for the lowdown on Islay, the Queen of the Hebrides. The name Islay might immediately make you think of a certain style of whisky. Peated, smoky, briny, medicinal, robust. Even if not all of the island's distilleries fit into that stereotype. Now that Port Ellen Distillery is back in production, the island is home to 10 working distilleries. Ardbeg, Lagavulin, Laphroaig, Bowmore, Bunnahabhain, Fèis Ìle, Bruichladdich, Kilchoman, Ardnamurchan, and now Port Ellen, which is a pretty crazy number considering the island is only about 25 miles long. There are even more distilleries on the way, notably with Elixir's Port Natruan distillery taking shape right now between Port Ellen and Laphroaig. Islay itself is pretty compact, so that means the distilleries are never too far from each other, and that makes getting around all of them pretty easy. I even managed to cycle to every distillery in one day with some brave members of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society when we did a society tour de Islay during the festival back in 2019. Because it's so close to Ireland, where the Irish monks were ahead of the game with their expertise in distilling, Islay's connections with whisky go well back into the mists of time. The oldest record for a legal distillery on Islay goes to Bowmore in 1779, and at one point Islay had more than 20 legal working distilleries. Even nowadays, it can be a tricky journey to get there, but strangely, that actually helped Islay thrive as a hub of whisky making. The island's remoteness meant that tax inspectors from the mainland were more easily spotted, and illegal distillers could be alerted in good time to dismantle and hide their illegal whisky distilling equipment. The island is also blessed with the peat that gives so much of its whisky its smoky medicinal character, as well as water sources and barley. Basically everything you need to produce whisky. And the whisky has become celebrated around the world for its unique character, so much so that it's probably the most recognised region when you taste a powerfully peaty, medicinal style of dram. The whisky reflects the island's own character, encapsulating all those elements of an untamed Hebridean island landscape, a battering from the sea, and a reliance on what nature has provided as a source of fuel. Nowadays, the island is celebrated all over the world for its distinctive whisky, and Islay's week-long celebration of Fèis Ìle now takes place at the end of May every year. It started out with kind of humble origins in 1986 as a community event created to promote Islay's Gaelic language and culture with walks, history, shows, ceilidhs and more, but there was only one whisky tasting that year. It wasn't until 2000 that the distilleries really got on board and started their open days and special Fèis Ìle bottlings. Now the Islay Whisky Festival is a marathon 10-day event of distillery open days, entertainment, exclusive bottlings and events across the island. A moving party unlike anything else you'll ever experience in the whisky world. The festival has become so popular that if you aren't already booked up for accommodation and events, up to a year in advance really, it's going to be a long shot to get into the open days or find a roof over your head. So the secret to any Fèis Ìle trip really is to plan in advance. Get your accommodation booked up, get your space on the ferry reserved if you're taking your car over, and for any tickets you want for tastings across the different distilleries, get in ahead of time. And the Scotch Malt Whisky Society will always be present at the festival, and this year is extra special because we're going to be premiering our first ever feature documentary, Scotch and Sherry, a Flavour Odyssey, which is going to be showing at the Mecca Hotel. So if you're lucky enough to make it to Islay this year, then be sure to check out all of our events through the link in our description. I've been fortunate enough to experience the magic of Fèis Ìle a few times now, and I can safely say there's just nothing else like it in terms of the buzz and the excitement around the whole island. So if there was one trip any whisky lover should have on their bucket list, Fèis Ìle is the one. Cheers.